Welcome back, guys, to another video on the channel. I hope you are very well. I've literally just recorded a video and the news has just broke that West Ham are set to offer a new contract to David Moyes. But before we get into it, giving my opinion, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button for more West Ham videos. Now, guys, it is apparently happening that David Moyes is set to be given a new contract by the club after our great start to the season. And to be honest, it is thoroughly deserved. However, I feel like this has been pushed up further, closer, like sooner rather than later, because of the recent links with Celtic. Now, Celtic are not doing very well. Celtic are not doing very well in the SPL, and there's been recent links that Celtic might go over after David Moyes. David Moyes has an affiliation with Celtic, having played with them, played for them, and apparently has rejected them a couple of times. However, it feels like West Ham, who normally give out new contracts around January time, look set to push that closer and set to give him a new contract. Now, I just want to talk about sort of what he has brought to this club, because like me, like many people that are watching this video, when he first got employed by West Ham, his job was to keep us up. What did he do? We finished 13th. He kept us up. And the second spell, again, whilst he gets paid handsomely for it, whilst he is one of the lower budget Premier League managers, he does get a bonus in terms of if he actually kept us up. And he did do that. And we started to see some very good performances after lockdown. We started to see, after he signed a couple of players such as Souček, such as Jared Bowen, we started to see a team form. We started to see sort of a long-term image of what this West Ham team could potentially look like in the future. And despite the first two defeats against Wolves and Tottenham, we played very well after lockdown. And after lockdown, you could probably count on one hand the amount of times we've actually played really badly. That is a huge credit to the backroom staff, to David Moyes, because Moyes has firstly got this team playing for him. Right? We have got this team playing for him. That is what he has done. You saw the goal that Declan Rice scored against Watford. He runs over to David Moyes. He gives him a hug, right? And I just feel like that shows what the actual team think of David Moyes. A lot of the team really like David Moyes and were very keen in bringing him back. And it's nice to see now that we are going to just give him the contract, give him some kind of stability, because since, we have moved to this Olympic Stadium, West Ham have been crying out for stability. We've chop and change manager. We've obviously had David Moyes, we had Bilic, we had Pellegrini, and now David Moyes has come back. So for him to have some stability and be like, you know what, we're going to trust you. Right, we're going to give you money to spend. We're going to trust you. You've done such a fantastic job, and we want you to continue your work for the next 2 to 3 years. Now, what kind of contract should he be given? In my opinion, he does deserve some stability, and we do deserve some stability. So I feel like a 2-year contract, a 2 to 3 year contract is probably fair enough, I think. I feel like, the days of giving managers 5, 6, 7 year contracts like Newcastle did when they give an 8-year contract to Alan Pardew back in the day, which feels so long ago. And even David Moyes, when he got a 6-year contract at Manchester United, I feel like those days of giving 5 to 6 years to managers are long gone, because of basically the turnaround of managers. It is very common for a manager not to get much time at a club and be sacked if it doesn't go well within the first season. So for us, I feel like a 2 to 3 year is what he deserves. Give him another chance to sort of, build this team, because we are looking a very good outfit. As I said, we are starting to see the building blocks of this team. Firstly, discipline, being organised, okay, working hard for each other are the core morals that he's trying to bring into this club. And if you do not follow by those morals, you probably, one, won't be recruited anyway, or you just won't play. If you're someone at the football club who doesn't work hard, who doesn't want to be, working hard for the team, who's not a good character, you're probably not going to get much game time. And of course, you've got to have the quality on top. And that is why, he probably likes Fornals. Whilst there is obviously discussion regarding the West Ham fans, should Fornals start, it's probably why Fornals does start. Because to be fair, he is one of our most goal, in terms of scoring goals, in terms of getting assists, he's up there in terms of stats. And of course, with him working hard, he's going to get a lot of game time. It's going to be hard for Ben Rama to push him out. But I do think Ben Rama should start. But now I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. But David Moyes is set to be offered a new contract, which for me, I'm very happy that I was proved wrong. A lot of West Ham fans probably watching this right now was proved wrong. It's no glamorous name. When, Pellegrini lost the job, we wanted a big name manager. Before Pellegrini, we got Pellegrini. It didn't quite work out. And now Pellegrini at Real Betis, I think it is, it's not kind of working out for him. They're currently like 15th. They lost at the weekend. So he looks like he's struggling out over in Spain. So going down the big name route didn't work out for us. And now a lot of fans wanted Ancelotti, wanted Pochettino. Those were never really realistic options for West Ham because those kind of names, firstly, are probably not going to work for the board. And we needed someone who has worked for the board previously, which was David Moyes. And whilst he did get unfairly treated, we should have at least probably, looking back at it now, we should have just given him the contract. I know hindsight is a wonderful thing. It's easy to say that we shouldn't have got Pellegrini. We should have stuck by our guns because David Gold, the board was sort of split in terms of who we want. Gold wanted Moyes. Sullivan wanted to go down a different route. And it was David Gold that's the one that's been proved right because he has come in and he has changed his football club, not from top to bottom, but certainly from the staff to the players, the attitude. Whilst we are, winning games, we are winning games ugly now as well. Because there's be a lot of times under Pellegrini, if we was under the cosh like we was against Aston Villa, we're caving in, we're losing 2-3, 4-0. The amount of times Pellegrini was in charge and we'd go 1 or 2-0 down, it was almost like a quick fire. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. And then suddenly we're out the game. We'd concede 3 goals inside 20 minutes and the game's out of sight. And this is the first time in a long time that I've been proud of a West Ham team. And the last West Ham team was the final season at the Boleyn. And it's the first time that if we go behind, I do believe that this team can get back into any game, even if it is against Man City, even if it is against a higher profile team that maybe we should not really be realistically picking up points. Pellegrini I don't want to keep going back to Pellegrini, but Pellegrini, if we had been 3-0 down against Tottenham, we would have lost that game 3-0 or we would have lost that game 4 or 5-0. That is just the way I would have seen it. There was no way in chance under Pellegrini that the team firstly would have had the belief, because to get back into a game of that magnitude, of that importance, a London derby, you firstly got to have belief before you actually go and do it. If you don't believe before, then you've got absolutely no chance. And that team, whilst they were 3-0 down, probably believed, you know what, we can group together, we can work hard for each other, we just need 1 or 2 chances, because we had chances in that first half, we can get back into this game. And we certainly did that. Against Tottenham. And for me, it's not just David Moyes, it's not David Moyes. You've got Kevin Nolan, bringing in like-minded people that have been at the club, people that have experienced the club, people that know what the fans want, what the fans expect, and just what the club is like, buying into that club culture, okay? You have Alan Irvine, who's a trustworthy assistant manager, someone that has been around the block with David Moyes, been with him at Everton, been with him at pretty much every job he's been, someone that trusts. And when David Moyes was out for a couple of weeks, he was able to trust Alan Irvine because they have similar characteristics. They have similar morals in terms of the way they want to build their teams, the way they want their teams to play. They've got to work hard for each other. And then you have players, ex-players such as Stuart Pearce, who he had in his first tenure that has come back. So it's not just a David Moyes thing, it's a collective thing regarding the staff. David Moyes, Stuart Pearce, Kevin Nolan. If you're going to give David Moyes a new contract, I do believe that we should give the staff behind him a new contract, back him, give him stability. And I feel like that's probably a collective thing. I imagine if you're giving a manager a new contract, then David Moyes is probably going to go out and be like, well, Sullivan, it's not just me. My staff, are due a lot of credit. I want you to give them a new contract. Because it is a collective thing. It's not just a manager. You see, Mikel Arteta under Pep Guardiola. The managers do rely on the assistant manager to give them feedback regarding the game, to give them maybe a different perspective of things, to maybe look at a game and be like, you know what, David, you might have seen this, but personally, I think we should do this. And then they'll go off that. So it's not just the manager that makes the final decisions. It is a lot of assistant manager in negotiation, talking, discussion with his backroom staff. And for me, he fully deserves this new deal because we are finally seeing the building blocks of a good team. Now, can we improve? Of course we can. Of course we can. I feel like at the moment we are pretty much a predictable team in terms of when we line up, we're at 5 at the back. And it was nice to see David Moyes against Aston Villa change it at half-time, go, you know what? We are losing the midfield battle. We are losing, the battle in terms of possession. He changed it, and whilst it didn't really improve in in the second half. He did change it. We did get the goal. We won the game. And the only real criticism there has been of David Moyes since his tenure at West Ham is probably so much is, substitutions. I know he does leave his substitutions late, and there has been a lot of discussion about his substitutions. Why does he leave it till the 85th minute to make a change? But I do feel like now he is slowly making those better decisions in terms of in-game tactical decisions, because it wasn't working at half-time. It wasn't working against Aston Villa. And whilst the performance didn't really improve that much, whilst we did win the game, he did see that we were losing the midfield battle. So what he did, he changed it from the 5 at the back, changed it to the 4. And now, whilst I think we look a little bit more ropey in defence when we play with a 4, he's being more proactive now than rather being reactive. And what I mean by that is that instead of going 2-1 down and then making a substitution, he's seeing that, against Aston Villa, we're not having a possession. We need to change this before we go 2-1 down. He done it. Ben Rama comes on the pitch, and within 30 seconds, 50 seconds, he gets an assist, a fantastic cross for Jarrod Bowen to nod it in. So one of the big criticisms of David Moyes was his substitutions, but I do think now he's being proactive, seeing it before it happens. And that's what the best managers do. The best managers, what separates the best managers from the good managers is the proactiveness rather than being reactive. Don't wait until you're 2-1 down to make a substitution. See it before it happens, change it. And that's exactly what he did against Aston Villa. And whilst the thinking behind it was fully correct, we got the goal, we won the game, the idea of dropping Fornals into a central position didn't really work in terms of holding on to the ball. We did win the game, and you've got to give full credit to David Moyes, because we have got one of the best defensive records in the Premier League. We have got 17 points out of 10 games. And guys, if you said that to me at the beginning of the season, that David Moyes would take us to 17 points out of the first 10 games, I'd be like, what are you smoking? I predicted in my West Ham predictions, I predicted that we would finish 17th. Because not so much I didn't have confidence in David Moyes. It was mainly a lot of things. It was the board, the negativity around the club. We weren't signing anyone. Whilst we did look good, we didn't improve on the squad. We didn't improve on a squad that almost got relegated last year. Whilst we did sign Souček on a permanent deal from Slavia Prague, we did sign Bowen. We've brought in Sue Fowl, who's been a fantastic signing so far. We are slowly beginning to see, as I said, the building blocks, the foundations of a West Ham team. And moving forward, I'm very excited. Now, I'm really, really happy. I'm really happy because he does need stability. Because what he did at Everton over 10 years, he changed pretty much Everton from a relegation side to a team that was in the Champions League. Whilst they didn't get to the group stage of the Champions League, they played in Champions League qualifiers. And I'm pretty sure one year they got knocked out by Villarreal, who were no mugs back then. So if he can be given that time, and it is going to take time, and fans need to realise that, we're not going to go from relegation to Champions League or relegation for Europa League. Whilst this is a crazy season, guys, no fans and everything that's happened in the world, this is a crazy season. You can only have to look at the Premier League table to see where Man United are, to see where Man City are, to see where the big clubs are, and see what, like Arsenal, for example. This is a crazy season, so anything can happen. Leicester won the league with fans in 2015. So I'm not saying West Ham are going to win the league, but we could easily get top 8 or 8th or 9th. And I don't want to put too much expectation, because I do firmly believe what David Moyes said in the post-match conference, and what he keeps, saying is that let's promise less, but let's deliver more. Let's overachieve. We were expected to get, be in a relegation battle. At the moment, if we get between 10th and 7th or 8th, then we have probably overachieved based on the season's expectations. I just personally want a season where I'm not going to have a heart attack thinking about, right, are we going to be in a relegation battle this year? So for me, I would love just a cup run. A cup run, 10th, 9th, not having to worry about relegation. But we have put ourselves, in a fantastic position to maybe do more. And whilst we probably would be jumping the scale in terms of our journey, Wolves, whilst they had great financial backing, okay, you need to build up. You need to walk before you can run. We can't expect as fans to go from relegation to Europe. We need to go from relegation to a couple years of almost consolidarity in mid-table, finishing like 10th, 9th, 10th, 9th. And then as each transfer window comes, improve the team, see where our weaknesses are, see that we've got an aging striker, Antonio. We need a new striker soon. We need to maybe sign a striker long term who's a similar mould of Antonio, who can run the channel. But then we need to build on that. We need to see our weaknesses. We need to, as each transfer window comes, build a squad. Because at the moment, whilst we have signed some players like Soufal, Bowen, Ben Rama, Souček, there's a lot of players in this squad that have been there since the Bilic era. That's been there since Pellegrini. So a lot of this squad isn't really David Moyes'. And what he's done is bring in a couple of players of probably his own. And whilst there is actually some debate whether, you know, those players like Souček and Bowen were actually Moyes', or they were actually picked out in a previous regime and Moyes just give the go-ahead, even still, we don't know that as fans. And we have to trust that Moyes, you've got to admit, apart from Jordan Hugill, which obviously, needless, you know, less to say the better, we could be improving and maybe pushing for a top 8. I feel like top 7, top 6 is too much. You know, we can slide on the radar, but top 8, I feel like 8th is very, very realistic. And, you know, given the time, I feel like he can turn us into what he did at Everton, finishing 8th, finishing 7th, pushing on, you know, those Europa League places and pushing us potentially on those Champions League places. But guys, let me know in the comment section down below. This is huge news. This is huge news regarding David Moyes. I'm very, very happy to hear it. David Moyes is set to be offered a new contract. Now, this is sources by Sky Sports. We know Sky Sports are not probably the number one in the, you know, source anymore. But it's good to see that West Ham are ready to, you know, make that discussion happen in terms of David Moyes being offered a new contract, because he deserves it. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Give a like if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you support West Ham. More West Ham content coming. And I'll catch you next video. See you later.